YouTube people, what is going on? Northeast Ohio Cards and Comics here for the Sunday week in review. Took yesterday off. Might do that a little bit more going forward. Just kind of depending on what's going on. Taking Saturdays off. We'll see. But felt good. Kind of just get a quick little break and not recording a video. But had local show yesterday. Made a absolutely massive $2,000 trade. I'll do a separate video on that later this week. If you follow me on IG, you've already seen it. So shout out to the IG people. But yeah, made a really big trade at the Hartville show. I was really jonesing for a show. I was there forever. Actually, I was the longest I've ever been. I was there for like 5 hours. And it's not that big of a show in the grand scheme of things, but just walking around talking with people, looking through showcases, looking through people's cases, trying to work some deals, but made one really big deal before I left. But yeah, that I'll do it. Like I said, I'll do a separate video, probably Tuesday. Tuesday, I'll drop a video kind of recapping that and kind of walk through the process there. It was a big deal. I traded away 6 cards, and got one back, and I gave up a little bit of cash too. So once again, if you want spoilers, and then you'll get the full thought process, you can check it out on IG. Description, or the IG name is in the description down below, NEOSportscards. And give me a follow on Twitter too, if we're giving social media shout outs. So I got that going on. I am locked in for the Ship Shawana show. Hotel room is booked. I am going. That is November 5th. Trade night, November 5th. Friday night show, Saturday morning / Saturday afternoon, 160 tables with a trade night the night before. So I am locked in for that one, November 5th and November 6th. I saw Ryan from Card Collector 2 is going to be attending that show. And I was talking to a bunch of people today that I know, trying to talk them into going to that show. So it should be a pretty good show and a pretty good trade night, is the vibe that I'm getting. So if you're local to the northern Indiana region, check it out. What else is going on? News-wise, Star Stock grading. I was going to do a completely separate video on this, and I actually had it recorded and was going to post this morning. And then at the last minute, just decided not to post it. They opened up grading with PSA, BGS, CSG, and SGC now. You could check out the submission form on their site. PSA prices seem a little high. It's $210 to submit the PSA, whereas the other ones are more in line with what their actual pricing is. Like SGC is $30. CSG is $15 and $55, depending on which version you're doing, and then a little extra with subgrades. But BGS has like a $40 upcharge, and PSA has a $60 upcharge from what it would be submitting on your own. And I get that like they're doing the processing and stuff, and I assume they're getting a bulk discount from SGC and CSG. And they are submitting on set days with them, whereas PSA and BGS are on demand. So they're probably not saving as much on shipping costs. But I don't know. It just kind of rubs me the wrong way that there's not that much of an upcharge to ship a card to SGC, but there's a major upcharge to send to PSA just because of that little bit extra shipping. I don't know. Maybe ship out once a week then and discount the price a little bit more. I don't know. It just seemed like an excessive upcharge when the process is the same regardless of which company you're sending to. You're shipping it the same. You're insuring it the same. It's the same supplies. It's the same amount of work. But there's a massive upcharge with PSA. The only reason I think of it is because they're shipping on demand. I don't know. I would rather you ship once a week and bundle everyone's orders together to save on the submission fees. I can't think of a card that I would submit through them for $210. I guess I would just have to look through Star Stock A's and see if there's a banger on there and then do the math, I guess. So I guess there could be something out there, but I don't know. That's $210 seems steep to grade through Star Stock. I was hoping for like maybe $175. I get they need to make a little bit of money, but I don't know. So probably won't be taking a big advantage of that feature. The more intriguing part is what do they charge when PSA opens up more levels? You know, when regular tier comes out, is there a viable path there? Star Stock needs a little bit of juice. So it would be nice to see them continuing to make improvements on the buying, selling platform, getting inventory on there, that sort of thing, getting more eyes on the website. So I think that's pretty much it for new stuff. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but yeah, Like, comment, subscribe, all that YouTube stuff down below. Let's go ahead and dive into some charts and graphs. We're going to hit all three sports today. Taking, once again, a little bit of a different approach. I went a little bit more longer view than the 7-day view. I continue to feel like on the 7-day, sometimes you just miss stuff that's kind of happening on a little bit more macro view. So for most of this stuff, I'm going back 14 or 30 days. Most of this stuff is 30 days. I'll try to note what it is when we're looking at it. But first up, football. Mahomes. His stuff is definitely pulling back a little bit. This is a 30-day chart, so this is going back to mid-September. This is his PSA 10 base optic, PSA 10 optic hollow, and PSA 10 silver prism. I went with all three just to get a couple sales in. I was actually surprised that this many 10s have sold just in the last month. But silver prism is down 12%. The two optics, optic hollow is down 20%, and optic base is down 27%. So the more rare prestige card dropping a little bit slower than the other ones, probably just because only 4 have sold. Optic hollows down to just under 4K, and base optic down to 1450. And I can tell you right now, I have seen these sell for under 14. They're kind of bouncing between 1375 and 1450. So basically about $1,400. The interesting one is the hollow. I believe 9s are comping at around $1,000, a little over $1,000. That's kind of an interesting play. I nosed around a couple PSA 9 Prism Silvers today. One guy, actually the guy that I made the trade with, Jeff, who's a frequent viewer of the channel, had a PSA 9 Mahomes Silver, but he was firm at 2K on it, which I get. But last comps were at around 1,800 on that card. I just don't know where I'm at with Mahomes. It could easily bounce back and bounce back very quickly. I feel like it's getting kind of greedy, just keep waiting every week, but the Chiefs team just seems flawed. I'm sure as you're watching this on Sunday afternoon/evening, they're probably dropping 50 on whoever they play this week. But I would love for them to like win this week, but it's just kind of like a whatever game. And his stuff dip a little bit more. I would specifically for the price ranges that I'm looking at, I'd be looking at the Optic Hollow PSA 9 or the Silver Prism PSA 9. If I'm going to spend over a K, I would rather just go with one of those in a 9 than the Optic Base in a 10, if that makes sense. I would rather just have the shine because I think that card would just be more liquid and has potential higher upside as well. So, but the Mahomes dip is in full effect. Absolutely. And this is, so don't get me wrong, Mahomes is ridiculously talented. He's insanely good, but this is what happens when there is so much baked into prices. So when they don't even remotely exceed or perform up to those lofty expectations, you see pullback, and we see this all the time in the sports card market. Even Mahomes is no exception. Josh Allen going the opposite direction. Here we have his Prism base, his Optic base, and his Optic Hollow, all in PSA 10. Once again, 30 days here. Optic Hollow up 26%, Optic base up 20%, Prism base up 10%. So nice gains across the board on Josh Allen. Once again, coming off the Chiefs games, his stuff was actually kind of just there. It had actually dipped a little bit in the early part of the season because they started kind of weird. But after the Mahomes game, he took a nice little bump up, and that was an excellent game. He played extremely well. He's playing great. Lamar's playing great. Mahomes is playing okay. Herbert looks fantastic. Baker's kind of meh. But Allen stuff definitely on the way up across the board. The Optic Hollow seeing the biggest bump up. Also the least amount of sales. Also the lowest pop by far. Only 145 on that. Once again, 2018 Optic Hollows and Optic Hollows in general, especially pre-2019, tend to be fairly low population. I did not include Prism Silver. For those that don't know, I talk about this all the time. 2018 Prism Silver is absolutely ridiculously rare, so it doesn't really make sense to look at them. Herbert. Another one skyrocketing, especially after last week's game as well. You come in, you have a massive game. That Chargers-Browns game was one of the best regular season games I've watched. Obviously, I would have liked the Browns to win, but just from a pure entertainment factor, that game was wild. Coaches were going for 2, going for it on 4th down left and right. The Browns defense literally helped Austin Eckler score to get the ball back. Like, it's the insanity of that game was a ton of fun. Herbert stuff, once again, this is going back 30 days. Optic base, optic hollow, prism silver, prism base. I did include prism silver here because they are rare, but they are not as rare. Everything's pretty much up and up a lot. His optic base is up 120%. Optic hollows up 73%. Prism silver is actually only up 10%. And prism base is up 46%. Now, the thing with Herbert stuff is it did dip down a little bit. Around week 3, his prism base got down to around $375, $400, and now it's bounced back up to $700, which was where it was in the early preseason. Right before the season started, I think it was sitting around 6 something. So it's kind of gotten a little bit above where it was when the season started. And you can see the lower priced cards getting a little bit more run up. The optic base having a huge run up. I didn't check to see if maybe this one's just a big outlier. I guess I have it here. Optic base is the blue one. It went from 485 to 585. So that, check your math or check the results on the 585 comp. That might be an old Probstein or something. But it could be legit. I'd actually believe that if it was legit. But yeah, prism based 710, optic 585, optic hollow getting up there, prism silver getting up there. It's interesting to see the discrepancy between prism silvers and optic hollows here. Usually it's the other way around. Prism football this year, 2020 Prism football is one of the toughest grades of the year. There is major quality control issues with 2020 Prism football, and I think it's going to keep the gem rate down. When you look at gem rate, his data on IG, when he breaks it down by set, 2020 Prism football gets decimated on gem rate. So, PSA pop reports might actually be legitimately low on those cards, especially like these silvers. A lot of them had centering problems, surface issues, whole 9 yards. So Prism football from 2020 is going to have some low population counts. Kyler, this is an interesting one. So I'm looking at the last 30 days again worth of data here, and he's basically flat. His optic hollow is actually down a little bit. Well, and this is where it gets interesting when you do the 30-day thing. If I went back 45 days, he's actually up quite a bit. But he got his big price increases in week 1, 2, and into week 3. And now when you go back 30 days, you're missing that run up. You're picking up from where the run ups ended. And he's basically leveled out. And he's still playing good. But the prices have just corrected to where the market deems that they should be based off his early season play. And my gut says as long as he keeps playing well, they'll stay around there. If you think they're going to struggle, then his prices could start to pull back. So if you're in the Kyler cheap and you don't want to hold football long term, it might not be the worst time to look to move stuff. They play the Browns today. We'll see how that game goes. Cardinals have a bunch of COVID problems. Cliff Kingsbury's not coaching today. They're missing a bunch of other people. They just traded for Zach Ertz. That's a nice pickup for them. He's not able to play this week, though. But the Kyler market has kind of corrected and now flatlined at kind of where it is, at least until he does something bonkers, good or bad. But if you were in the Kyler cheap and you were looking for a window to sell, it's not a bad time to consider it. I mean, ideally, you probably should have sold last week before stuff started flatlining. But it's all going to come down to your risk tolerance. It's football. Anything could happen. He's one tackle away from it all falling apart. Or he very well could be the MVP this year and take the Cardinals to the Super Bowl. They're that good. They're 5-0. They look fantastic. Their offense is humming. We'll see what they look like today when they play the Browns. So some Kyler thoughts there for you. Lamar. Once again, 30 days worth. His stuff, he's been on fire. He had a massive game the other night. I expect him to continue to get a bump based off that. He's playing extremely well this year. Prism base, optic hollow, all up. Prism base up the most at 28%. Optic base up 10%. And optic hollow only up 1%, but only a couple of sold. The big one here, prism base, Once again, we've talked about this a bunch. His Prism base is a super tough grade compared to the other ones in the set. The population count on Lamar Prism base is about half of everybody else's. Like his is 602. Where did Josh Allen go? Josh Allen's is almost 1200. There was something very specific with Lamar cards that they do not grade well. Whatever it was when they came off the printing press, there was an issue. And his pop counts are extremely low, even on Prism base. That's why his Prism base always has a little extra juice to it. And you need to factor that in when you're comparing the 2018 class to each other. And it's not surprising that that card would get the quickest run up. It's Prism base on football. Prism base is still 100% a play, especially pre-2020. Let's transition to talk about baseball real quick. Baseball playoffs so far have not done a ton, at least for the stars. You know, I didn't go do a deep dive on Kiki Hernandez prices, who's been playing out of his freaking mind this entire playoffs. But Devers did get a little bit of a bump finally, and not necessarily across the board. This is his PSA 10 Topps Chrome Auto, up 78% on the week. Actually missed out on one of these. One popped up on my slabs for 475. And I missed it. I probably would have pulled the trigger on that. I don't currently own any Devers. I had a purple, which I sold. I just sneakily like Devers. His Topps Chrome Refractor up a little bit, from 135 to 161, up 20%. This just still seems like such a reasonable card for 160. He's just a really, really good hitter. So, you know, this probably isn't the best time to be buying Devers. You're basically buying at the peak. But just given his price points, it's very, very reasonable for a refractor. Soto still continues to go crazy with his prices. They're not constantly going up, but they're definitely trending in the upward direction. Pink Refractor over the last 30 days, kind of one of the poster child cards of the channel. I talk about this card all the time for various different reasons. They've been sitting at 800 forever, most of the summer. You know, I picked up two at the National based off of an $800 comp. They were $800 up until he went crazy that last couple weeks of the season, and then they got a big bump. Went from 800 last comp, now is 1225. There's been sales higher than that. I don't think there's been any sales lower than that, but it does seem to have settled in around $1,200 right now. The interesting part on Soto is will he get a dip, or is it just going to be slow and steady as people release cards to auction and they kind of get bid up? Because there's that classic gap right now of where current comps are, but where the lowest bin/buy it now is on these guys. And the people that have their cards posted at bin/best offer aren't budging on their price. They're firm at whatever price that they have it at. So the only thing that's moving the market is when one slips out to auction, and then the battle of the auction reestablishes a new comp. And I think you're kind of seeing that here with like the Soto stuff in general. There's the people that don't need to sell it, that have it priced at their price, and that's their price. And then there's a random auction that sneaks out every once in a while that continues to shift the market. And I think as competition grows for those cards, the comps will begin to get closer until it gets within a range where someone just smacks the bin because they want the card. That's usually how this stuff works in the off season. So his stuff continues to move up. Another Soto card. This is the 2018 Topps Update Rainbow Foil. This is from regular Topps flagship, not from Chrome. Nice looking cards. Very low pop on these, 350. This card's up quite a bit as well. Very, very similar to the Pink Refractor. $800 back in the summer, up to $1,100 now, a little bit less than the Pink Refractor. This is a paper card, but it is the rainbow foil, so it does have the refractor-like effect to it, kind of. I personally would prefer the pink over this, just because I'm a sucker for Topps Chrome over Topps paper, but I wouldn't say no to one of these by any means. Moving right along, talking dips, Vlad Topps, or I'm sorry, this is his Prism. Vlad's stuff in general is dipping a little bit. His base refractor is down to, I've seen it bounce anywhere from 3 to 350. This is the Prism version of that refractor. Very nice looking cards. I picked up that Tatis about a week ago. That's the first Prism refractor I've actually owned. of any cards. I usually go for the regular refractors or the pinks. But these are pretty nice cards on a little bit lower population if that's your thing. But this is down 400 or 200 bucks. 610 to 405 over the last 30, a 33% dip. And that's only going for about $50 to $70 more than the base level refractor. So not a bad deal on here. But once again, with this sort of stuff, you are most likely going to have to find one pop on an auction or run into someone at a show that is willing to move it at current comps. And sometimes that's the problem. Continuing the dips, Trout. Mike Trout Topps Update PSA 10. Down a little bit. This is from mid-September. Once again, I did about 30-day charts on these. 20% dip, down 665 bucks, down to $2,700. Now, to be fair to this card, it does show a 20% dip, but this card has been bouncing between 3K and 3,300 almost every week. So just kind of depending on when you start and end the graph, I easily could have started this graph with it being a 3K comp versus a $3,300 comp. But it is still down a little bit, whether it's down 20% or 10%, just kind of depends. But in general, it is trending downward. And you can see that on the trend line here, where it goes down, pops up, goes down, pops up, goes down, and it'll probably pop up again. But it's kind of doing these steps downward still. I don't think we've hit the bottom on this card yet. I don't want to say people are souring on Trout, but I think there's a segment of the new people coming into the market that don't understand the Trout buzz. They don't care, I guess. They would rather have Soto, Tatis, Acuna than Trout. And I get it. I get it. Last but not least, Tatis. Once again, just kind of showing that the dip is real. This is his 2019 Topps Chrome Rookie Auto PSA 10. This was at $2,260, down to $1,700. Last sale was September 25th on this. The reason why I pulled this was, one, just to show that Tatis stuff is dipping, and two, to kind of show you where you need to watch these auctions. This is a case where, this sold for $1,700. That's last comp. Good luck finding one at last comp, though. You have to wait out an auction, and this sold on 9/25, which at this point in time is now 3 weeks ago, when is not sold since, because once again, like we talked about before, the people that have the card are not willing to move it at current comps, so they're sticking to their guns, so you got to wait out an auction. Is what it is. But the T stuff in general is dipping. I bought that Prism. I got that for about $100 under what the previous comps were. They were about $800. I got that for $700. That card could continue to slide. We'll see. Switching over and closing out with basketball. I feel like we're running a little long today. I wanted to check in on kind of the heavy hitters. I went back. What did I go back on? These 30 days again, just kind of like the run up to the season. Kevin Durant, Topps Chrome, PSA 10/9. LeBron, Topps Chrome, PSA 10/9 from their respective rookie years. The classic LeBron pose, the classic KD pose, kind of similar actually a little bit. Flat. Perfectly flat. PSA 10s are up a little bit on Durant, up 9%. 9s are actually down a little bit. I almost pulled the trigger on a 9, but shout out to Liam. He has a 9, did not want to sell it at current comps, which I don't blame him. I think that card will sneak up once the season starts, but I've always been intrigued by a 9 KD Chrome. LeBron perfectly flat, both in the 10 and 9 down very slightly. I can tell you I have an 8. The market on the 8 is about the same. It's moved very, very little. It's up. I think I'm up like $100 on that card since I bought it. So the LeBron market really has stayed flat since it's got its pre-national pump. It was dipping pretty low on his PSA 10 Topps Chromes. It got pumped right before the national. Kind of shifted his entire market. It pulled back a little bit, and then it's been flat ever since. And we'll kind of talk about that in a video later this week when we talk about the trade that I made. Spoilers, or hint, I guess, clues. Once again, looking at the run up into the season, I went back a little longer than 30 days on Luka. I went back 45 days. I was just curious what he's done since he got his summer bump. Most of the NBA guys, especially like Luka, Trey, Tatum, got bumps in the summer. Some guys are starting to get their bumps now, but he got his in the summer, so I was curious, what has the market done since the summer? So I just went back to September 1st. I pulled Optic Base, Optic Hollows, Silver Base, Prism Base, and Prism Silvers. So Optic base, PSA 10 and 9. Optic base down a little bit, 22%. Optic 9 holding steady. This is another one of those ones where this card keeps bouncing around. I've seen comps anywhere from 4 to 450, kind of depending on the day of the week. It just lives between 4 and 450. So essentially, you can almost call this flat over the last 45 days. Same with the 9. We're going to see that trend continue. Let's look at his Optic Holo. PSA 10, 0% change, but one has not sold since the 29th. So I'd be curious to see what the next one goes for here. There was one outlier sale on this $9,000 sale. Probstein, I believe. So you just throw that one out. I'm not considering that as a real comp at all. Neither should you if you're trying to buy one or if you're trying to sell one. Don't be an idiot. PSA 9 still sitting at 1,300. It's actually a slight bump up. These were 12 to 1250. Once again, I pay very close attention to the 9 pricing since I have 3 of them. That last sold on the 9th, and actually 2 of those sold together. I've heard reports from the world of the DMs. Some people have slid into my DMs that have 9s posted on IG, and they're saying they're getting offers, or I'm sorry, posted on my slabs, that they're getting offers creeping up into the $1,400 range, and they're just not accepting them. So what will the next one look like at sale? These don't come up for auction very often. And I don't know that there's any in the $1,400 range on eBay right now. I guess we could pop over and take a look real quick. Here's an 851 that ends in 5 days. Yeah, cheapest one is 1,500 and 2 auctions going right now. Let me see if there's any 10s on the auctions. Oops, that's base. Doing it live. Yeah, so here's probably most likely going to be your new comp on 10s. Oh, wow, there's actually 4 auctions running for 10s. Or 3, that's not a real one. 4K, 4K, and 4K. 1 day, 3 hours. 1 day, 1 hour. 2 days, 2 hours. 1 Probstein in there. So we'll at least get 2 good data points. And maybe a third, depending on when that one does. So the last one did 4.9 2 weeks ago. Very curious to see what those end at. Maybe we'll do a little poll on that one for a little over-under or something on the old community tab. So maybe I'll post that up. Silver over the same time range is up. PSA 10 silver is up 20%. Silver 9's up 5%. Prism base down 20% in a PSA 9, 7% in a PSA 10. So once again, kind of depending on what angle you're taking. If you're just looking at the NBA market in base cards, it looks flat to down slightly. If you're looking at silvers and holos and you're looking at over the last 30 to 45 days, the market looks up. So it just depends on what you're looking at. Just kind of always keep that in mind. Jumping over, one more player to look at, good old Zion. Did the Zion video earlier this week. Pulled his Optic base, his Prism Silver, and his Prism base. I pulled Optic Holos too, but none of them sold. And I went 14 days on this one because I was just trying to capture the dip from the latest news recently. And there is definitely a little bit of a dip. Over the last 14 days, his Optic base is down 16%. His Prism Silver is down 15%. His Prism base is basically flat at 385. There is a Prism Silver. So last comp is 3050 on this. I am recording this video Saturday night. As of this one ends in 11 minutes, is at 2665. So I'll link to this in the description down below. Actually, there's a link to this on the community tab. Those people on mobile see this stuff all the time. I don't think you see community tab posts on desktop unless you go there and actively look for it. For those that don't know, that don't watch on mobile, I do post a lot of things in the community post. If I see any interesting auctions, interesting comps, I usually throw it over there. So check the community post for the link to this. Maybe I'll relink it depending on what it sells at. So I'll see what this closes out at. This will probably be the new current comp. This is the first auction to end for a Zion Silver since the news the other day. Pretty much everything I needed to say I covered in that video. It's not about Zion's talent level. It's about this nonsense when you're talking about Zion. Yes, he's an absolutely fantastic NBA player, But I worry that this is just going to be his career, where it's these constant things, whatever they are. Sometimes serious, sometimes not serious. But I just don't know that it's something I personally want to deal with in regards to collecting and investing and flipping, which is why I don't own any of his cards currently. I sold out of pretty much everything last year. Would I be interested in buying a Zion dip? Yes, if the prices got right, because I think it would shoot right back up again if he got on the court and is healthy. The question is how quickly does he get back on the court, and what does he look like when he gets back on the court? And does he need to play back in the shape again? Because if that's the case, that could affect his prices as well. One last Zion card to look at. I also pulled up the photo variation. This to me is an interesting one to keep your eye on. PSA 10 pop on this is 526. This is the hanger variation, I believe. Him with ball in hand, I think they call it. But pop on this is 526 compared to his Prism base, which is getting ready to eclipse 20,000. So if you're looking for a low pop Zion, keep your eyes out for this one. They're down to 585. That's a massive decrease. A 40% drop in prices, $400 on the PSA 10 variation. So if you are looking to get in the Zion and the silvers are out of your price range, maybe look for the photo variation. Once again, you're going to have to wait for an auction to come up because most people that are best offered by it now probably aren't going to accept the lowball price. They are going to ride this thing out to try to get the prices that they were into it for. So that's all I have for you guys and girls today. Once again, we'll see where this silver ends up at. Yeah, like, comment, subscribe, follow me on the social media platforms. If you're not, you get spoilers for my pickups. That's probably the thing that I post the most, especially on IG. Whenever I get new cards in, I usually post them there first. And we'll see what the week brings. Not sure what tomorrow's video is going to be yet. I would really like to do a comic book video. I haven't dug in and done a comic market deep dive in quite a while. So I would like to do that. That's going to be my lean unless something crazy happens in football. Tuesday, we'll probably be recapping the trade that I made at the show yesterday. And I have a pickup coming. I just don't know that it's going to be here yet. Looks like the old USPS slow shipping thing is affecting me on a recent eBay purchase. It's not that big of a card, like $200. So maybe review that as well. And then not sure what's going on for the back half of the week. But that is Monday and Tuesday. Most likely either a Marvel comic book video tomorrow or football. Tuesday, a trade recap, show recap video. And then Wednesday, probably either football or comic books, depending on what happens with tomorrow. So a little sneak peek of upcoming content, and then obviously any breaking news and all that nonsense. So once again, like, comment, subscribe. Catch you guys and girls on the next one. Peace.